Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. We've got some entitled parent stories and our first story of the day is by LezWolfVet, entitled Aunt Insults My Wife and Gets Kicked Out at Our Wedding. Cast: entitled Aunt, my mother, Katie's mother, my wife Katie, and my sister Amy. I, 32-year-old female, and my fiance Katie, 31-year-old female, aren't religious, so we had our wedding at my parents' home in their garden. There was around 50 guests. I was in uniform, we're both army vets, and Katie had a beautiful dress. Everything was perfect, until my stupid aunt objected to the wedding. She wasn't invited but found the invite we had sent to her daughters because they are actually good people and decided she would come along. Now, about my aunt. She is racist, homophobic, sexist, probably a lot more I'm forgetting, and she hates me. She has since I was a kid. She calls me a devil's child, claims the army gave me the gay, and that I'm a sinner who will go to heck. I've been atheist since I was 11 and she hates me for that too. So the stupid woman decides to turn up at my wedding in white. Not just that, it was clearly a wedding dress. Then she objects to it and said there is no such thing as gay marriage. My mother and Katie's mother yelled at her until she left. But afterwards, at the reception when I was talking to my sister and our cousin, we saw her again, sulking at the side of the garden. Our cousin was apologizing so much, I felt sorry for her. Entitled Aunt storms over, she was mad at something. Again.
You freaking who are, you don't deserve to be alive.
She actually said that. I say get the heck out, you weren't invited.
You invited my daughter, so you invited me.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Katie walked over and hugged me to calm me down. She was holding my arm when my aunt went off on poor Katie.
You're a freaking who are too, I saw you with the best man.
Katie did hug the best man. The best man was her younger brother. I was ready to punch her, but I didn't. I let my mother handle it. She's a spitfire when she wants to be. Before she left though, my sister Amy accidentally spilled red wine all down her white dress. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. We're still married and our cousin sent us a photo of my 60-something-year-old aunt bawling her eyes out with a wine-stained dress. Do you think the red wine being spilt on her wedding dress was a just revenge? Or do you think she deserves a little bit more than just her wedding dress being stained forever? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Chanthu Exists. How dare you talk Chinese in a Chinese country? Backstory. I live in a Southeast Asian country called Singapore, which happens to be a rather popular tourist destination because of British colonization and trade routes and whatnot. So every time it is summer break in Europe/America, there is a huge influx of tourists from the region. My friend, not going to say his name, works in a Chinese restaurant in Singapore's most prominent tourist area, Orchard Road. Singapore is mostly Chinese. So of course, Chinese restaurants would be super popular in the country. An entitled mother made it a point to visit the restaurant my friend was working in. The encounter. Entitled mother barges into the store and immediately plops herself down on the huge, circular 12-seater table towards the right of the restaurant. Friend's coworker, rather exasperated, "Excuse me madam, but you cannot sit at this table as it's reserved for Entitled mother, in classic Ong Mo style, "Yeah, can I have a menu please?" "Madam, you can't sit here,
No, can you give me a menu, not a table?"
This exchange continues for a while before coworker gives up and gives them a menu. A few minutes later, the family calls friend, the waiter on duty. She then proceeds to butcher the pronunciation of every item she orders, causing even more delays. While the chefs try to figure out what the family wanted, entitled mother calls friend again.
"When is my food gonna be ready?"
Friend says, "Ma'am, we're cooking your food right now and it's all..." Entitled kid says, "Mom, I'm hungry."
"See, he's hungry, where's our food?"
Decent husband says, "Now honey..." My friend says, okay, I'll tell the chefs to hurry up. Finally, their food comes. This would usually be where this ends, but entitled mother kept harassing my friend further.
Hey you, how are we supposed to eat?"
My friend says, "Sorry?"
"Don't you sorry me, give me my utensils."
Entitled kid then proceeds to try and pick up his noodles with his hands and put them to his mouth, but gets scalded.
"Mom, I can't eat this."
Friend, taking entitled mother's chopsticks, "Madam, you're supposed to eat with these chopsticks," and takes entitled mother's spoon, this soup spoon, to eat. Decent husband, fumbling with his utensils, See, I told you you were doing it wrong. Entitled mother and decent husband start arguing, drawing stares from everyone else in the restaurant.
Look, I don't care, just give us forks and spoons.
Friend says, we don't have
Give us the utensils.
Friend, shouting towards another coworker that only knows Chinese, hey, can you check if we have Western utensils? In Chinese. Coworker shouts back in Chinese, we don't. Entitled mother, basically throwing a tantrum at this point,
don't you freaking poop talk me, where's your freaking manager? This is unacceptable.
Entitled kid, somewhat embarrassed, Mom.
Shut up, entitled kid, and you.
Points towards decent husband.
This is your fault, you a-hole. I didn't want to come to this restaurant full of racist poops, but you forced me anyway.
Decent husband just stutters confused. At this point, everyone had stopped eating and the entire restaurant had their eyes fixed on entitled mother's table. And as if to make this worse, the family that originally reserved the 12-seater table came into the restaurant. Large family to the coworker said, hey, I thought you said that was our table.
I just wanted to have dinner and here you all are freaking it all up.
High-pitched screaming. According to my friend, this was when him, coworker, and several members of the cooking staff had to actually carry entitled mother out of the store while she kicked and screamed slurs at them. The branch manager or someone ended up giving most of the staff a day off, and most of the staff members took said day off the very next day. Decent husband ended up apologizing to the large family and, from what my friend heard, actually gave them $100 on his way out. There's no true winner in this story, and the only proper loser in the story that I pick up on is decent husband for having to deal with that situation altogether. That's a lot to deal with on a, I assume, daily basis. This next story is by Char. Entitled mother tries to tell me that her daughter is going to buy and ride my horse without my permission. So this happened a few weeks ago, and honestly, I'm still baffled at this whole thing. I am a horse, technically pony, owner. I have a half-linger pony who's really cute. Look up the breed if you want to get an idea of what my pony would look like. And I've owned him for 3 years. I come out to the barn around 4 to 6 days a week to ride. Since the whole COVID situation, my barn has implemented rules for everyone to follow. At the start, only boarders could come out of the barn, but after about a month, they allowed lesson kids, we call them schoolies, so basically beginner riders or riders who do not own horses, to come back to do part-time loans on the school horses, the barn-owned horses that schoolies ride in their lessons. A couple weeks ago, I come out to the barn and find one of the school kids brushing my pony with her mother, entitled mother, standing by. Normally, I wouldn't mind people brushing my pony, but I'd prefer if they asked me first. The thing that confused me was she had a saddle out, as if she was going to take my pony for a ride. Plus, the kid and entitled mother knew that it was my pony they were brushing. I come up to both of them and say hello, engage in a little small talk, and finally politely ask what she plans on doing with my pony. Entitled mother then says,
your pony? This is my daughter's future horse. We are planning to buy him from you once you age out of ponies.
In my country, you age out of ponies when you turn 18.
So I want my daughter to take him for a ride.
I was really astounded at this. I almost laughed because I thought she was kidding. Yeah, she wasn't. Normally, I'm not a super confrontational person when it comes to little things, but I will call people out if they cross the line. So I say to her, no, this is my horse, I own him. I don't want anyone riding him at the moment because I plan on riding him today. Maybe we could work something out later on. I wouldn't mind if she just wanted to ride him sometime in the future. I would have liked if you'd asked me first though. I would have said yes, I don't really appreciate what you're doing though. Then entitled mother proceeds to call me selfish and a spoiled brat for not letting her daughter ride my horse. I tell her I don't think that was very nice to say to me. She doesn't like that very much. She then starts telling me that her daughter is so much more experienced with horses. She's been riding horses for 2 years, I've been riding for 10. And that how dare I disrespect and insult her and her daughter even though I hadn't said anything to her except the 2 things I'd mentioned above. She says that because she pays $50 a week for a lesson that her daughter should be able to ride whatever horse she pleases. I pay $700 a month for board and lessons. Checkmate, witch. She then proceeds to march to the tack room and witch to my horse riding trainer that I was being extremely rude by not letting her daughter ride my horse. My trainer calmly tells her that he is my horse, not hers, and that I can do whatever I want with him, and basically tells her that it wasn't very cash money of her to yell at me and attempt to ride my horse. Entitled mother marches back to where my pony and her daughters are, grabs her kid by the elbow, cusses me and my trainer out, and saying that we just wasted her time and money. Boo-hoo, Karen, I don't care. And then storms out, gets back into her car, and floors it out of the driveway. My trainer and I look at each other like, what the freak just happened? Haven't seen her since. A good metaphor here is, imagine somebody going up to some random used car place, getting into a car and just driving off with it because they wanted to do a test drive. Obviously, we're talking about a car versus a living horse, but it's kind of the same principle. Somebody owns that thing, and until you actually pay for it or you own it yourselves, you're not allowed to just hop in or hop on and take it for a stroll. You can get permission to do so, take it for a test drive, but you can't just basically steal it for a test drive. It definitely screams entitled. This next story is by CharityEquivalent. You can't make me do that. This happened a couple weeks ago, so it is pretty fresh on my mind. I work for a pretty popular steakhouse and have worked there for about 7 months. I rather enjoy my job and the family atmosphere between the employees and managers. On this particular Sunday night, I was running board. Basically, I tell the seaters where to take the guests and the busboys which tables need cleaning. It was about 6 o'clock and I'm paging parties to come inside trying to get off the wait so I can send some of the other employees home. It had been a long day for everybody there. I come to a party of 6 and don't think much of it at the time. I was just seating other parties as they came in. Eventually, these 4 people come in and say they were ready to be seated. I asked them for their names and it was the party of 6. I asked them if their whole party was there and they said no. Unfortunately, due to company policy, I can't seat them until they are complete. I start to explain this to them and then ask how far out was the rest of their party. Karen said they were just a little ways out and that it was her daughter's birthday. I asked if they knew how much a little ways out is and she said about an hour and a half. I was blown away and said, unfortunately, I can't seat an incomplete party. But friend 1 cuts me off and says, can't you just give us a table for 6 and let us order and then they order when they get here? I was blessed with more than enough brain cells to know not to rub my tick on a cheese grater and to see the messed up logic here. I said, unfortunately, I can't do that, and they cut me off again, and friend 2 said, why not? I said because we are on a wait and it wouldn't be fair to the server or the other people on the wait. At this, friend 3 rolls her eyes and laughs. I ask them to go outside and they say no. They proceed to tell me it is too hot outside. For those wondering, it was about 80 degrees Fahrenheit outside. I tell them, unfortunately, you can't wait inside, please head to your car. They eventually go outside and wait, complaining the entire way except the daughter who was nice about it. They come inside 45 minutes later saying they can be seated now. I ask if they are all here and she says no, again. Now, ladies and gents of Reddit, I consider myself to be a good and patient person, but my patience was fast dwindling by this point. The only reason I haven't lost my cool was because of the daughter. She had this look in her eyes that said, I'm so sorry for how they were acting. Plus, it was her birthday. I repeat what I said earlier and try to send them outside again, but they wouldn't do it. Mega Karen said they were going to wait right in front of the host stand until they were seated. I lose it and go get my front of house manager. He tells them sit outside or leave. So they stand in the cramped entrance and are being a nuisance and a risk to the other customers. This happened post-COVID. When I ask them to please put on masks and head outside, they say I can't make them do that. As we had a mandate in my county at the time, I said you can do what I ask or I can call the police. Daughter was the only one wearing a mask. They put on masks and finally go outside. They come back in 30 minutes later and they are all there after a quick head count and we take them to be seated. They complain about the seater, they complain about the server, they complain about the food and left a 1-star review. The busboy that cleaned up the table came up to the host stand and showed us this note that the daughter left us. She apologized for the behavior of her mother and her mother's friends and left a $100 tip for the server. She single-handedly restored my faith in humanity. You definitely have to feel pretty bad for the girl. It was supposed to be a day all about making her happy, and of course, entitled mother and their whole crew had to just ruin things for them. Yeah, the seating rule might kind of stink, but it sounds like you're going to a place that isn't some cheapo chain restaurant, so how much can you really expect? I feel bad that on her birthday she had to tip $100 to the staff just to try and make up for her own family. Poor thing. And our final story of the day is by Kimmidog. Halloween, but my friends messed up and met entitled dad. This happened 2 years ago, so no virus was involved. Backstory. So I was trick-or-treating with my friends in their neighborhood and we all had our costumes on with masks. My friends were from my baseball team and there were 4 of us in total. My closest friend had a shark head on and my farthest friends each had a purge mask. We'll call them Purge 1, Purge 2, and Shark. I was wearing a Reaper costume with a built-in mask, which meant no way of taking off the mask without removing the costume. My other friends all had their masks on though, except Purge 2 who was holding his. Story. We were walking home, not because we had finished, but because Shark's neighborhood is so big, we cannot finish before Halloween is over, so as we were walking, my friends were talking about LGBT+ people and I was silent, being as I and some of my friends are part of that community, but I was listening in case they got out of hand. As we were walking, this dad and his kid walked past us, because we were walking slowly and heard my friends talking about it. And this is how our conversation went. Purge 1 said, "Dude, like, all my friends are gay and some of my friends are even trans." Purge 2 said, "Oh my god, I got dumped because my girlfriend decided she was lesbian. And then a week later, she was back to being straight." Shark said, "My girlfriend moved to her trans cousin's house and dumped me after her cousin changed her." Entitled dad screaming, "Can you guys stop talking about that in front of my 10-year-old? Who is literally listening to music with headphones at max volume. I can hear it." I say, "I'm sorry, sir, we didn't see you there." "Well, maybe you shouldn't talk about that sinful bull in front of my," no joke, "little angle." Shark says, "Well, fork you and your precious angle. Me and my friends can talk about whatever the heck we want." Purge 1 says, "Plus, this is a public street and a public neighborhood. And I have the right to talk about whatever the heck I want to." Purge 2 says, "Yeah, that's like the Second Amendment." Purge 1 said, "First, dude. Yeah, that's like the Second Amendment." "Well, I don't want you ruining my perfect child." Screaming that part. I say, "Dude, chill, we'll just go away and you and your kid can be gay somewhere else." Shark high-fived me for that. At this point, his kid had taken off the headphones and was listening. "I can go wherever I want, and if you don't stop talking about that BS, I will call the cops on you freaks." That's what he said. Freaks, but I wanted to elaborate on the fact that his voice went about 7 octaves higher on that word. Shark said, "Okay, bud, fork you." And Shark stomped off. Purge 1 said, "Alright boys, let's let this loser be a Karen somewhere else." That got a smile out of us. So we walked to the right at a 4-way up ahead, and the entitled dad and kid went straight. I cannot stop laughing when I heard this a second later. Kid said, "Hey dad, what's gay?" "It's when a witch-arse guy loves another witch-arse guy." Kid said, "Oh, I want to be gay then." Hey Karen, that's called karma. Good for that kid and good for that dad. I hope that the dad someday learns to deal with that stuff. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which one and why in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe if you haven't, and turn on notifications so you'll never miss an upcoming video from the Storytime channel. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, so no matter what you did, thank you for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here.